that we always start is just talking about why, as FreddyMatch, we are engaged in trying to sort of encourage more businesses to get into volunteering, whatever their size, and more charities to consider corporate volunteers as part of their suite of volunteer roles that they offer. So the problem statement is really clear. We've got a huge number now of corporates, businesses, maybe in this case, 80% of medium to large businesses have a corporate volunteering program. We can traditionally see a fairly low participation rate in these programs, sitting at around 15%. And meanwhile, we have 85% of charities saying that they need more volunteers. So what we're seeking to do is that middle quadrant, we're seeking to uplift the participation rate in corporate volunteering programs by assisting charities to list more roles that are suitable for corporates or businesses to engage in, and by helping corporates to more easily find opportunities for their employees to engage in that will help uplift that participation rate. So that's where we're at. That's the gap that we're trying to address through this work in corporate volunteering. Today, I wanted to start by talking about motivations. And I talk about motivations up front because a lot of the conversations that we have with businesses, we end up in the situation where we're relatively far progressed down the pathway of introducing businesses to corporate volunteering. And some, work has been done internally to sort of start that process of setting up a corporate volunteering program. And then it comes to a stop. And the reasons, there are many, many reasons for that. One is probably that we don't do a good enough job up front of articulating the importance of having a corporate volunteering program. But from the business side, we know that things get in the way. So volunteering is, a lot of companies out there, they really want to do good in the community. They want to get their employees engaged in, both volunteering and workplace giving. But it's just making that clear case. If you're a person in the organization who's maybe an advocate for having a volunteer program, or you're an employee yourself, it's just about making that case to senior leadership about why volunteering is a really important thing to consider, and to consider it and execute on some sort of plan to getting a corporate volunteering program right now. So what we talk about, with charities is why would you consider corporate volunteering on top of all the other things that you have to do? And from a business perspective, why do you want to do corporate volunteering, and why do you want to do it right now? So what businesses feed back to us and what they tell us is that in the current climate, they are heavily focused on activities that are either maintaining their growth, maintaining their business, or trying to help them to grow as a business. So volunteering is actually a really important part of this, because the challenges that businesses face when they're talking about maintaining business or growing business are staff well-being, staff retention, and winning new business. And in fact, and as we'll talk about today, volunteering will help with all three of these challenges. So that's why volunteering is so important. A volunteering program is so important, and that's why it's important to consider right now. For charities, it's a different question. For charities, it's about, why should I invest time in a corporate volunteering program? And as we've talked about in previous webinars, we've spoken about how for charities, engaging in a corporate volunteering program involves putting in a lot of time and resource to, understand what roles they need to list to be able to engage corporates with those roles, to do that kind of, partnerships piece. And why is this important for a charity to consider? And why should they consider listing corporate volunteering roles? And what it comes back to, again, through workshops, focus groups, we found that for charities, losing donations is the most serious threat to a charity's operation. And they are prepared to invest in any activity that builds a stronger relationship with their donors or potential donors. And for that reason, again, corporate volunteering is a great activity to invest time in order to, reinforce those relationships. So with those motivations, let's just dig into a business perspective. And I'm not going to go through every single statistic on this slide. And I am very happy for you to take this slide. I'll share the presentation after this session. Very happy for you to take this slide and use it however you like when making that case for corporate volunteering. So, the big kind of seller for corporate volunteering is most often employee well-being. And on this slide, we articulate some of those key statistics around why volunteering is so beneficial to employee well-being. But what I want to focus on is the step beyond employee well-being. What does employee well-being give you? Well, if you want to kind of be sort of black and white about it, if you've got really, kind of engaged, happy employees, you're going to see impacts to your business, positive impacts on growth, on loyalty, on engagement. So what we talk about when we say that, volunteering assists employees to have better mental health is that they also see increased satisfaction in their workplace. They work better as a team, they build skills, and they're more likely to be more engaged at work. I'm coming, like off the back of this is the loyalty that employees feel. If your business has an established volunteering program, we see employees that are more loyal to that company because they feel that stronger sense of connectedness to the company and to the community. And importantly, more loyal employees are going to increase your net promoter score, or they're going to increase the community's appreciation of all the good things that your company does. And for a start, they're going to go above and beyond promoting your brand. I work for company X, it's a great company, we do all this good in the community. You're also, if you're volunteering, you're going to be seen as active in the community, and you're going to get that social capital. So you're going to have a genuine community engagement through your volunteering. Employees are out there actively connecting with community organizations, and this is recognized. It's recognized by the customers, or the consumers of your brand that you interact with through those charitable interactions, and beyond that the community and your potential customers see you actually walking the walk. Now, brands that are, doing all these good things and customers are seeing that, word of mouth is a key influencer on purchasing decisions. So if you've got 3/4, the statistics say, of consumers saying that word of mouth is a key influencer on, whether or not they'll purchase from that brand, then it's really going to be vital that, you've got customers, consumers out there saying good things about you, and they're going to be doing that if you're volunteering in the community, and thus you're going to see business growth. So that is, I suppose, the unwritten connection that is often, we often don't talk about, I suppose, when we're talking about volunteering, is that it's so important because it drives business growth. And I think that this is something that people steer clear of, because we have a lot of narrative around, well, people, companies should be encouraging their employees to volunteer because it's the right thing to do. Well, of course, it's the right thing to do, but in this climate, we need to make a strong case for why employees should be volunteering, and why companies should really be promoting those programs. We often do this little exercise at the very beginning of a corporate's journey. So it's all about what makes you want to connect as a business. And I'll field the charity side. I was curious whether we had anyone from a charity here today. We usually do a separate session for charities, but if I just start off by explaining connections from the charity perspective, and then we can talk through the business perspective. So from a charity perspective, what makes you want to connect with a business? And this is all about, let's say you are looking at ways that, consider the motivation of a charity that they want to support, donations flowing through. What is going to make them engage with one business over another? Sometimes charities don't get a lot of choice, but the bigger ones certainly do get a choice in who they want to go into sort of a corporate volunteering partnership with. So up the top here we have feels like a values alignment. The business has skills we need, or their products and services are what we need. We certainly see this a lot in particularly charities that are maybe, say, focused on animals or care of animals. There's often partnerships with brands that sell pet food, or pet insurance, or other such products or services. There's the idea that it may lead to sponsorship or donations in the long run, and importantly, they've heard their employees are really engaged. So from a charity perspective, this is an interesting kind of mix of motivations. There's a lot about we want to work with businesses that we feel align with us. And then there's going to be the kind of the exchange of money or products or services that benefit the charity. So from a business perspective, if we spin it around and we just think about, who's here on the call today, and just feel free to see this from any perspective that you're at, like any stage in the journey that you're at. So from a business perspective, if you could indicate in the chat to me which of these particularly resonate to you, what makes you want to connect with a charity or a particular charity? So this might be you're right at the beginning of your program, you might have an established program, but you're here at this point and you're saying, okay, which charities are we going to want to partner with, or which charities do we want our employees to volunteer with? So up the top, and these are all results that have come out of workshops we've done, where businesses give us the top kind of ideas that make them want to connect with charities. So up the top, believing what the charity is doing is important, fits in well with what our company does, having personal relationships with the charity, they operate near the business or in the local community, and they promote businesses that volunteer with them. And so that last one is all about, if you go and volunteer with them, you might get some coverage on social media, some pictures, etc. Can I ask, young people entering the workforce are looking at what businesses and companies are doing, what their sort of strategy for social good is, whether they have CSR goals if they're a bit larger, and how the students align with those companies, and that it's very important to kind of acknowledge that as part of the volunteering journey. I don't actually talk about that in this presentation, but that's important. So I mean, practically speaking, we do often see that this operating near the business or in the community is important, but yeah. So okay, so thank you. And then, it's important to think about the opposite. And again, feel free to to say things, as I said, from your perspective. But what are the things that make you not want to connect with a charity? And this exercise is actually often really, really useful for charities to see, because sometimes there's a feeling as a charity that they invest a lot of time thinking about corporate volunteering, and then they really struggle to find people to partner with. And often it's not anything to do with the charity or their mission. It's just actually a mismatch, and it's a mismatch with of alignment, or lack of personal connections or recommendations. And again, I think, speaking now as the Freddie Bear Foundation, as a charity ourselves, when people don't feel a real emotional connection with the charity's work, we often just see that kind of, and I say this because we get this quite a lot. I mean, we talk about volunteering and promoting the cause of volunteering, and often people don't sort of see that as being something charitable. We don't have a lot of pull power in terms of, as important as volunteering is, what's the emotional connection. We're not showing pictures of injured wildlife or things like that really kind of pull people in, and that is just one of those kind of barriers that you have to overcome in other creative ways. So recommendations are really important, and often if businesses don't have a personal connection or recommendation, it's just hard for them. It's that discovery piece. It's really hard for them to find other charities outside what they're looking at. So one thing I wanted to touch on from a charity perspective, and this is something that we really try and work hard to kind of unpack, is that charities often say to us, oh, well, we've actually had a bad experience before where the corporate volunteering relationship has been a waste of time. And this is just an unfortunate reality of particularly when you're starting to set up a corporate volunteering program. It's right at the beginning when sometimes you engage with a charity and they don't have experience with corporate volunteering, that it's not a positive experience for both sides of it. And I'm just saying this, I'm not, it's not necessarily all negative. I'm just kind of just want to be clear that a really good corporate volunteering relationship, from the beginning, you have to have buy-in for both sides. And where we often fall down is that we need to do the legwork with the charity and with the business to kind of do a matching exercise of skills, interests, commitment, to make sure that the opportunity is kind of suitable for both parties. Now, there are other organisations that do this as well, and often peak bodies, like your peak body in various states, will help you kind of curate that relationship and make sure the organisation is ready for you to onboard with. But it's really important to either at the beginning, if you're setting up a volunteering program, to be mindful of, has this organisation done this before? And if neither of you have done it before, perhaps bringing somebody into the mix to help at least the first couple of times that engagement just goes smoothly. So just I suppose a word of warning there. So just to kind of close out that piece, coming from the motivations perspective, we see top two reasons for volunteering for businesses. One is staff engagement, and often staff want to volunteer. They want to see the impacts they have in the community. They say volunteer experiences are the highlights of the year. So if your staff are wanting it, then that's a really, really important reason to get your volunteering going. And bearing in mind that it can actually be fairly easy to set up a program, which I'll hopefully demonstrate to you shortly. And then the second thing is a connection. And again, this comes back to the well-being piece, Net Promoter Score, all of these things. Volunteering gives you this chance to develop a really deep connection with the charity and the people that they serve. And this kind of, will help employees feel like they're connecting with the community and ultimately giving back, which is a wonderful thing. Now, from a charity perspective, again, this is a different topic or a different time, but charities, they need volunteers, and they need to get volunteers where they can in a lot of cases. And, from certainly particularly skilled volunteering, if they didn't have those volunteers, then they would, really struggle to be able to pay people to do the roles. Here I'm thinking about particularly things like accounting services or legal services, or those skills that cost a lot of money and simply out of reach for charities. And then the other one, which we really see, and we've had this experience as well, is that volunteers, particularly corporate volunteers, are passionate and they advocate for you. And this is just an absolutely wonderful thing. They can just it's just so nice working with a volunteer who is just helping build awareness of who you are, and helping you attract kind of maybe not even funding, but more kind of opportunities, and just all these really rich things that volunteers, particularly corporate volunteers, bring. So I wanted to quickly take you through a very short kind of case study, and this is just, I'm not going to go into detail about this, but I just want to touch on this because this introduces why we started the Corporate Volunteering Hub in the first place. So we worked closely with the peak body in South Australia, Volunteering South Australia, and we helped them create and administer their own corporate volunteering hub. And this actually sits within our own corporate volunteering hub. Now, this is a way that businesses can view and apply for volunteering opportunities. It also enables corporates to track their volunteer activity. And what this did was it allowed access to the pool of organisations that Volunteering South Australia support, and enabled them to list more opportunities for corporates to engage with, and then also attract more applications, because we were just bringing that awareness to each and every volunteer involving organisation that had corporate volunteering opportunities and wanted to uplift their programs. So this was a great initiative, and what it did was open the door for us to create our own corporate volunteering hub. Now, this is, I suppose, the purpose of today, is to introduce you to this hub. And our corporate volunteering hub is a completely free hub. It's a completely free resource of corporate volunteering roles for all businesses, wherever you are in the country, to tap into, and you're able to access volunteering roles from the 400 odd organisations who currently list opportunities on FreddyMatch. Now, I will talk about, I suppose, some of the things that we're working on within the hub, but the opportunities that we list, we currently have a variety of both individual and team opportunities, mix of alignments with CSR goals, skills and interest mix, location mix. We have some online roles, we have some in-person roles as well, and some you can do from your office space. We also importantly have a mix of charity sizes. We're not just servicing the big charities that get a lot of interest in corporate volunteering. We're servicing also very small organisations, community organisations as well that are in need of volunteers. And similarly, we seek to service businesses of different sizes. Through this hub, we're supporting predominantly small and medium-sized businesses to kind of find volunteering opportunities, and to be able to access statistics on their volunteering programs, which would otherwise again be just a blocker because there's not the budget to support these initiatives. And through the variety of roles that we list, we're able to provide both skilled opportunities for people to engage in, and what we call the hand and heart roles, which is the getting out there and doing things. And through all of this as well, we're aiming, as over the years, as the hub develops and gets more and more use, we'll be able to really articulate the impact of all businesses across Australia volunteering, not just those that use a particular platform or service, but genuinely every single business out there that, even if it has 5 employees, will be able to see the impact of that corporate volunteering. So it's a really, really exciting initiative. I'm just going to pause there. If you have any questions about the hub at all, I'm happy to answer them now, or at the end of the call, or alternatively, we can have a one-on-one chat. That's fine as well. And I just wanted to mention, particularly for Tegan's benefit, we have our parallel offering, which is the Youth Volunteering Hub, and this works in a very similar way. So we might be worth us having a chat about that at another point. But yeah, any questions, thoughts, comments? Okay, so really, literally the last slide here. As I said, I'll go through this and then I'll hang around afterwards in case there's any questions, and I'll end the recording as well. So our final, I suppose, piece that's important is our corporate volunteering package. So the corporate volunteering hub is a free service, and we would not be able to provide this service to all businesses were it not for our fee-for-service corporate volunteering clients. And these are organisations that are medium to larger organisations that have decided to make an investment in their corporate volunteering programme, and they've decided to make that investment with us, and as such are benefiting the sector as a whole, because through the corporate volunteering package with FreddyMatch and our corporate volunteering hub, we're building capacity in the charity sector, and we're, as I said, enabling small businesses to use the hub for free, so that we can encourage all businesses, no matter what their size, to volunteer. So what do I mean by building capacity? Well, fee-for-service clients pay a small fee to administer volunteering their organisation. I'll talk more about that. But through this offering, we are then able to support charities to list more volunteering opportunities that align with what corporates need. So this is in itself a bit of an undertaking, particularly at the beginning, because there's a lot of handholding with charities to talk to them about what it is that corporates want and help them list those roles. But unless we do that, we have this mismatch, like I said at the beginning, where people come to us and they say, oh, well, I don't want to do that again because it was a waste of time. So, and then we don't increase the participation in corporate volunteering programs. We don't help charities get more volunteers that we need. So by clients, larger clients, and this is a big thank you to them, investing and using FreddyMatch as their corporate volunteering platform, we are able, as I said, to just really start to effectively service, all charities and all organizations or businesses that are looking to volunteer. Now, the further along this journey we go, our goal is, to get maybe a quarter of the organizations we support through FreddyMatch. Our goal is to get a quarter of those organizations those volunteer involving organisations listing roles which are suitable for corporates. And again, as I mentioned, Sigam, with the Youth Volunteering Hub, we want to get to similar numbers as well. And once we start to get those sort of numbers, in the hundreds of organisations listing really good quality volunteering roles that are very appealing to corporates and also, on the other side, very appealing to young people. As soon as we start to get that base of roles, then it's much easier for volunteer involving organisations to come to the platform and say, okay, great, well, we can see that this is a type of role that's really popular, and actually, we're looking for something very similar in terms of what volunteers we need, so we can list a role that looks a lot like this. And it's through that we have, we're really able to build this great kind of sort of bank of roles that are really good for corporates in this case, and also youth volunteering. And as Blaise just said, she's the expert on youth volunteering, so she'll happily chat to you. She'll happily, I'm going to say, talk your ear off, which is probably accurate, but wonderful as well. So what we offer to corporates is this kind of full package. So this will take a corporate or a medium to larger business from not having a volunteering program at all to having an effective volunteering program and seeing that increasing engagement and participation. So first of all, we do an introduction session and we outline, all the kind of nitty gritty to the key stakeholders and kind of get that go ahead for this is what we want to do. And then we have a strategy workshop, which is actually very short. We can either do 2 1-hour slots or a 2-hour slot, and this defines a roadmap for the corporate volunteering program. We find that if we get this process right, then we're just setting that business up for success and a really good long-term corporate volunteering program that's super effective. So we get that corporate volunteering program set up and provide that centralized marketplace for employees to find opportunities to volunteer their time. And because of the pre-work we've done, these employees can tend to find opportunities that are aligned to really what they're looking for and what time they have available. Now, on the other side, in the background, we've got that constant ongoing work with charities that's really just helping charities to uplift their capability to engage with business volunteers. So so we're delighted to be able to offer this, and as I said, it's a big thank you to all businesses that take advantage of this service, and as I said, help us just build that capacity in the sector.